so pay attention cause the show's on. Listen up and I'ma let you know what's going on. Elite technique up on the mic, my friends, yeah, that's me. Introducing Kenny, Jewel, Felicia, Apple TV. Tap, snap, a nap, I'm waking up, wonder what happened. Whatever the case may be, we always gonna get it crackin'. Stack 'em and pass 'em, mash 'em and smash 'em until they gassin' out lastin'. We everlastin', I blast 'em until they passin' out. Here to interview the people you've been asking about, cause knowledge always makes you richer than the cash amount. Never hatin', I can never know what that's about. Kenny, Felicia, Apple TV, and that's a wrap, I'm out.
And we are in quarantine 2020. Apple TV's here with Kenny Jewel. I'm Felicia O, and today we have Jackie Cataline with us. Amazing wrestler, and it looks like she's probably out getting a little workout, running around or something. And so we're really happy to have her. We usually have a lot of grapplers, jiu-jitsu people, and fighters, and today we have an incredible wrestler. And it's kind of different for us, but pretty exciting too. So Jackie, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me.
So you grew up in wrestling with a wrestling family, which happens in the wrestling world quite often, but not usually when you're a female.
Yes, that's true. I have 5 brothers, so I kind of, I was forced into it, but, 5 brothers that all wrestled, so.
So where in the line are you? Like, you're not the oldest?
So there's 8 kids in my family. I'm right smack dab in the middle. So I have 2 older brothers and an older sister, then me, then 3 younger brothers and a younger sister.
But you're the only girl that wrestles, is that correct?
Yeah, my 2 other sisters did other sports but never wrestled.
So how did that happen? And how did you end up being the girl that wrestled?
I was always a tomboy, and my dad grew us up with martial arts. So I kind of, as soon as my brothers got into high school that are older than me, I kind of showed interest in it. And my dad let me try it out when I was 12, and I just loved it from the first time I did it. So.
And so what year was that when you started?
Oh, God. I'm 32, so 20 years ago.
And oh, that makes it 2000, right? Because we're 2020.
Yeah.
Math genius.
So 2000 is when I started freestyle stuff.
And so when you're in the gym with the team, like, were there other girls wrestling at the time?
No. All through high school, I was always only the ever girl at any wrestling tournament. It was very rare if you saw another girl. I honestly didn't even know that they had girls wrestling because there was never any girls. Until my junior year in high school, my dad took us to a freestyle tournament in San Diego, and both me and my brother were going to wrestle. So we were always kind of the same way. We were always training partners. So he's like, okay, I'll go this way, you go this way, so we don't have to wrestle each other. And we get to the tournament, and they're like, oh no, she has to wrestle in the girls division. And I'm like, what? They have a girls division? So I wound up wrestling in the girls division, and it just so happened that Terry Steiner, who is the national team head coach, was there recruiting high school girls. So obviously he approached my parents because he had never seen me before, but that was kind of my introduction into girls wrestling. I didn't really know that it even existed.
So then you did folk style and freestyle.
Yes.
Coming up both. Mm-hmm. And then you just, through high school, it was wrestling all the boys still, right, at that time?
Yeah, I only wrestled.
Sorry?
I said, yeah, I only wrestled boys in high school, no girls.
Did you ever have any issue with that?
I don't know. I'm pretty strong for a girl, so I feel like, and that's just kind of the way that I was raised. My training brother was my partner. He was my partner for wrestling, and so it was normal for me to wrestle boys. So I felt like if I lost, I lost because they were a better wrestler, not because they were a boy. But I feel like girls that wrestle now, because they wrestle girls, they're at a disadvantage, I think, to like progress their skills because they're only wrestling girls. So I feel like it was an advantage for me to wrestle boys in high school, and I don't think that I had any disadvantages being a girl wrestling guy. So, I mean, I enjoyed it. You know? So my freshman year, I wrestled JV. I had very few losses. I was league champion on the JV team. My sophomore year, I was on varsity. I won league, and I believe I was top 12 in CIF. And then same my junior year. In my senior year, I chose not to wrestle in high school and kind of transitioned to freestyle. So, I mean, I have losses against boys, but not very many.
But what weight were you wrestling at in high school?
So freshman year I wrestled 112 pounds, and then sophomore and junior year I wrestled 125.
It gets harder for girls to wrestle guys as you get heavier, right? Because they start maturing and then they get muscular and strong. And
Yeah, definitely.
So, you know, like I had an interesting experience because when I was coaching, our first year we had one girl, and we had a really small team because it was our first year, and we didn't really know much about girls tournaments, and I don't know if they had girls state yet. I think it was the next year that they started.
Yeah.
But there was a particular school that we would wrestle, and they claimed their religious belief, and they wouldn't wrestle her. So they would forfeit the match until it was, I think it was, it may have been at like league or something. It was like a qualifying tournament to move to the next level. And suddenly they were willing to wrestle, but they had other kids in the corner, not their official coach. Almost like, we're not going to be responsible in the corner as a coach because we don't want to wrestle her. But they didn't want to forfeit the match to qualify, which was interesting. You know, they had like 12-year-old coaching them.
Yeah. I've had that experience several times where a dad would be like, no, you're not wrestling a girl, and they would make their kid forfeit, and they couldn't move on to the next round. So it's definitely interesting. Some people are still old school, and they don't think that women should wrestle at all.
Yeah. So then you met Terry Steiner.
Yes.
And how did that change things for you?
Well, it was definitely a good thing. I mean, he approached my parents at that tournament in San Diego, the first time he'd ever seen me wrestle, and I won my age group, which was juniors at the time because I was a junior in high school. So I beat all the girls in high school. He approached my parents at the end of the day and was like, hey, I want to bump her up to college level tomorrow. Can you bring her back? And my parents were like, yeah, sure. And so we had to go back down and get a medical clearance and, you know, jump through all these hoops so I could wrestle at the college level. And we go back and I wrestle. I make it to the finals. Well, first Terry told my parents, he said, I just want to see where she's at, you know, don't expect her to win it. You know, these are college girls, they're experienced. I make it to the finals and I wrestle the 3-time returning national champion, and I beat her in the finals. So he was definitely interested. He talked to my parents and he's like, hey, I want her to move to Colorado. And so before I even graduated high school, I was living at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. So it kind of, I mean, it definitely jump-started my wrestling career very fast. Just the one tournament.
And how was that in your household with all your brothers? How did they respond to that?
Oh, they love it. They, you know, they're all my training partners, and they're all excited for me. And I mean, they probably feel like, oh, our sister's a better wrestler than we were, but you know, they're happy for me.
And so then you moved. Sorry?
They were all successful. They all wrestled in college and stuff.
So then you moved to Colorado.
I did.
And how was that? How old were you at that time then?
17.
And you had finished high school.
I was still in high school.
And you moved to Colorado.
I moved to Colorado, and I was going to high school and training.
And do they have a program set up for that, since the Olympic Training Center for all the sports are there?
No, because they don't usually take high school athletes to live there. So at the time, the only two high school athletes were me and Henry Cejudo. So we carpooled to high school together, and then we would train all day. But I mean, we were both 17, so school wasn't like the priority. We were like, oh, we got to train. And so I feel like I kind of maybe fell behind a little bit in school. Obviously I still graduated, but yeah, it was definitely an interesting experience living in a dorm room at 17 and still going to high school and training. So.
But the training center experience, can you tell us about that? Like, you're in a dorm, there's food for you there, and then you just train whenever you're not in school.
Right. It's definitely a top-notch facility. I mean, they take care of you in absolutely every way. They have facilities for any medical stuff that you need, if you need massages or you need, any injuries that you have. They have a full-on cafeteria with a chef that will cook any kind of meal that you're required to eat. So, in the facility for wrestling is just outstanding. So, it's definitely an experience that you don't want to miss out on if you get the opportunity to go.
And so, do they have like team practices at a certain time?
Yeah, definitely. We usually two times a day we'll have practice. Usually one in the morning, one in the afternoon. It gives time for everyone to recover or eat lunch, all of that, whatever stuff you have going on. So yeah, and they do other stuff. It's not just wrestling. They do yoga, and they put us through all kinds of stuff. So.
And are all those things? It's like if you're here, you're required to be at all these training sessions.
Yes, typically yes. If something comes up or whatever, as long as you have good communication with the coaches, they're obviously don't want you missing a ton of practices if they're footing the bill for you to live there and train. So, but most people that are there, they're not. I mean, they're there every day. So.
Well, I think everyone that if you make it that far, you realize what the opportunity is there, generally speaking. And so how has it been for you to watch Henry Cejudo doing what he's doing?
Oh, it's awesome. I've known him since we were both in high school, obviously. We both trained, and, he won an Olympic gold medal, which was awesome, and now he's fighting, so kudos to him.
And, of course, is there any interest for you in fighting?
Maybe a little. It's a 50-50 if I'm going to do it. Obviously, I want to finish out my wrestling career, which now, with all of this coronavirus stuff, has been postponed. So I got a whole nother year of just wrestling. And then there's a possibility that I'll transfer into fighting.
And so Sarah McMahon?
I do.
So I guess she's another high-profile wrestler that's gone into MMA.
Yeah.
So if you think you're going to do that, have you thought about what that transition would be like? Have you thought that far?
I have. I mean, I have trained before in like Muay Thai and MMA and stand-up and stuff. So, and I have a martial arts background, so I do it all the time anyway, so it would make sense to go into it. The only thing would be I don't really want to go down to 135 pounds.
What are you wrestling at now?
I wrestle at 68 kilos, which is 149. So, and I cut a little bit of weight for that. So, 45 would probably be the weight that I would fight at. And I don't know what kind of opportunities there are at that weight for fighting. So.
Well, so you're at the Olympic Training Center, and what's the process from there? Like, there are different tournaments. Wrestling has a lot of tournaments all around the world, especially like in different places. So how does that happen? Like, who picks who to go to what tournaments, and then where did you end up going and competing?
So there, USA Wrestling pays for about 70% of tournaments that you go to, and then most athletes have a club that they wrestle for. I wrestled for two. I wrestled for my dad's club, Cataline's Wildcat, and then I also wrestled for Titan Mercury. So Titan Mercury typically puts the bill. They pay for my hotels. They pay for my registration. They pay for flights. They give you a stipend while you're there so that you have money. So definitely your teams that you wrestle for help with any kind of traveling and stuff. And I've been to, everywhere. I've been to every state pretty much, and I've been to Russia and Chile and Canada, Germany, Japan, just everywhere, all over the world for wrestling, and it's an awesome experience. And to not have to worry about having to pay for it and train, and to just train and go, and it's awesome.
And when you go to those places, how hard is it to get out and go have these life experiences in these amazing places that you're not even having to pay to go, but also stay focused and stay on track to take weight for the tournament?
So what we typically do is we go, it's usually about a 10-day thing. So we'll get acclimated to if there's altitude or the weather or whatever we need to figure out for our bodies. We'll compete, and then usually on the back end of the trip, we'll take time to experience the culture and, go try the food and, go look at, everything. So it's definitely awesome. They give us the chance to have a little vacation after we compete. So.
And eat everything.
Yeah.
So how long were you at the Olympic Training Center? And tell us about the different tournaments that you went to. What was the most incredible, best experience so far?
So during that time, I was at the Olympic Training Center for just about a year, and then I went back home. I took some time off of wrestling. I had kids, obviously. I got married. In 2015, Marcy Van Dusen talked to me. She's one of the Titan Mercury women's coaches. It's like, what do you think about moving to Colorado to get ready for the 2016 trials? And I was like, I have a job and I have kids. I can't just move, So I kind of told her no, and then I thought about it, and I talked to my husband about it, and we decided to move. So 2015, we moved to Colorado Springs. Obviously, I didn't live on campus because I had kids and was married. So we got our own place out there, and I was out there for the last 5 years, and I just recently made the move back to California. So a total of 6 years training there full time. And then
how many have kids?
Yeah, with kids. Yeah.
Wait, so it's not like you're at the Olympic Training Center where everything's taken care of. You have to go to practice, come home, take care of the kids, cook, do everything.
School, go to work and cook dinner. Yeah, I had to do all that, but it definitely, I feel makes me a hungrier wrestler because I'm doing it for something, not just because I love to do wrestling. I have kids that I have to support, and so, and I'm old for wrestling, so it makes me feel I need to put in the effort to show my kids that if they want to do something that they can do it. So.
And how is training, wrestlers, as it's been said, are sort of the most chronically overtrained athletes in the world because they train and condition so much, right? We have that tradition, especially in the United States. But what has been different, as you said, you're older as an athlete, what has been different now that and you took off several years to have your kids?
5 years.
And were you involved in wrestling at that time? Were you completely left, or how did that happen?
I completely walked away from the sport. I wasn't training. I didn't go to tournaments. I wasn't coaching, anything like that. So yeah, I just completely had a normal life.
You're like a little housewife.
Yeah. Yeah.
And did you miss it? Did you ever think about it?
Yeah, and that's ultimately why I chose to go back. I took my son when he was a little bit older to a wrestling practice, and he really liked it. And I had gained weight from having kids, obviously, and so I wasn't in any kind of wrestling shape or anything like that. And when I noticed that he liked it, I was like, oh, I got to get back in shape. So I started getting back in shape, and then 2013, I decided to enter into the U.S. Open, which is usually held in Vegas. Just to kind of see, can I still wrestle? You know, I'm 5 years older and I have kids and I haven't been training. So I went to the U.S. Open and I wound up making it to the finals, and I lost in the finals, but I was like, I still got it. I guess I'll come back. So that's when I decided to come back to wrestling.
And so how does your conditioning and your ability, like what do you have to do different now because of your age or schedule or any of those things?
It's not really a huge difference with anything other than like I have to take better care of my body, because now I feel everything. I feel all the tweaks and the soreness, and so definitely taking care of my body is a huge thing, because when I was in my 20s, I would just do it and I wouldn't wake up sore the next day.
And so now then you're getting ready for the trials.
Yeah.
This year, and now we're not having anything in the foreseeable future.
Right. Well, our Olympics have a set date. So they're July of next year. Our trials, obviously, there's no tentative date. It was supposed to be April 4th and 5th, so we should have already had it. And like a week or two before everything happened, they postponed everything. So everybody's kind of just in limbo, I guess, not really sure, and facilities are closed down, so people are not training like they should be getting ready for the Olympics. So it's definitely tough for everybody, I think. But we're all doing our best to stay in shape and get workouts where we can.
Wait, so are you guys having like small sessions still?
Say it one more time.
Are you doing any training now? I mean, I'm not sure what your situation is in Colorado.
So I have a very lucky situation. I moved back to California. I'm staying with my parents right now, and they have wrestling mats, and they have a sauna, and they have a gym in their house. So I'm fortunate enough to where I'm still able to get everything that I need. And obviously, my coaches are my parents. They always have been. So for me to be back in California, and now I have another year to get ready, and I'm training with the people that I should be training with, I feel like my chances are pretty high of making the team. And honestly, it's the only thing in wrestling that I have yet to accomplish. So.
And so now, are you the oldest person wrestling?
I'm up there. Yeah. Let's see. I think Whitney Condor is the same age as me. I know Iris Smith and Randy Miller are a little bit older, but I think they may not be wrestling anymore. So yeah, I'm pretty old on the scale there. I don't think there's a lot of older people still doing it.
And you're ranked in wrestling?
So right now, because I took time off, I'm not technically ranked. And also, I dropped down a weight class. I usually wrestle at 75 kilos, which is Cataline Gray's weight, who's a 5-time world champion. And I decided to make the cut down to 68 kilos. And I have my first tournament was in Texas at that weight, and my second tournament was going to be trials. So I don't have any ranking at that weight. So we'll see. I mean, it's really just for me. I want to wrestle in trials and then go to the Olympics and retire.
That sounds like an awesome plan.
Yeah.
So Jackie, so how is it being a mom? Like, that's just crazy. Like, do you wrestle your kids? How old are they?
Oh yeah. My son is 11 and my daughter's 8, and they both wrestle. My dad has a pretty big club here in California, so they have people their age that they can wrestle and stuff. But yeah, we play around, but I'm not gonna force them to do it if it's not something that they want to do. So I'm not like one of those moms where like, yes, you have to do it, you know. So we'll see if they like it as they get older. They like it right now. My daughter she's a 50-50. She will go into practice, and then if she's not winning, she doesn't like it for that day. So.
And now your dad is your main coach again now, right?
Yeah, my dad and my mom.
And so when you go and compete at the trials, will they be in your corner?
Yes.
And then how does that work? Because jiu-jitsu doesn't have that. Like, you make the team, and then do you go to Colorado again and train the team? Or
So what I would do is I'd train here. They're going to have requirements for me to do certain camps to prepare for the Olympics. So I will have to go back and train and do my camps and, you know, whatever my requirements are. But for wrestling, they let you live and train wherever you want. So if you're on the national team or you make the Olympic team, they do have set requirements. Hey, you have to come to camp from this time to this time, and then you go home. So it's not like I have to go live there and train, which is cool. So.
Well, that's fantastic that you have, and obviously you've always had your whole family to support that.
Right, yeah.
Did you, growing up, have like guys try to challenge you? Like maybe not in the wrestling room, right? Like just on the street?
Yeah, I still get it to this day.
And so you have to go smash them?
Well, I mean, people definitely think because I'm a girl, but I have some kind of name for myself that they can still beat me because they're guys. And I've had to put a few people in their place, I guess you can say.
You know, here's something I wonder. When you're wrestling guys, do you feel that girls wrestle differently?
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely do. We're not as stiff, I think.
As stiff?
Yeah, we definitely have more flexibility so we can get in like funkier positions, and guys are not used to that, I don't think.
And does it feel different? I know like when I would train with guys, they were generally much bigger than me. I'm smaller. And when I started competing, it was like, oh my gosh, like I've never, and having not rolled with a lot of girls, and like all of a sudden it was like, now I have to deal with someone who's my size, but they feel tiny to me because I'm used to this bigger person. And
right.
You're a little bit bigger as a woman, so then maybe you have a few more options for male training partners to be closer to your size. But
yeah, I mean, I have lots of training partners, and they range from, 250 pounds down all the way to 120 pounds. And I like both. I like feeling the heavier people because I can't move them as easy, and I have to actually use skill. With the smaller guys, I like wrestling because they're faster than me. So I have to, stay on my toes and keep moving. And so I like a range of training partners. So when I wrestle girls that are my size, I definitely feel stronger. And I'm working on my quickness. So.
Well, you're definitely a beast. I saw some of your matches, and you got some heavy forearms and hands. That's so incredible. It's like, how do you put someone up without actually punching them with your fist? Right?
Well,
I know when I I started jiu-jitsu and someone told me about it, I was like, I don't understand. How do you fight someone without hitting or kicking? Because that's all I understood as fighting when I first heard about it. And so in wrestling, it's like, oh man, like they're actually hitting people, but not hitting people at a certain style, right?
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, I've been around wrestling my almost entire life, so it's normal for me. I think when I transition to fighting, that's going to be weird for me. Like, oh, I have to actually punch them. I can't just take them down. So, I don't know. We'll see. It'll definitely be interesting.
I'm looking forward to it if you decide to go down that road.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to tell us about? It's just such a weird time right now, right?
What is it?
It's just such a weird time, this limbo time.
It is. Definitely. And, you know, we all just have to kind of stay positive and do what we can do to keep ourselves in shape. And I know the Olympic Training Center is completely shut down, and the girls that live there have, they live on campus. Their options are to go sit in the sauna there or go train on the mat, and they don't have those options right now. So I feel fortunate that I moved back home when I did, because I have those options living at home now. And, you know, we're all just staying positive and waiting to hear what the next thing is going to be. So
tell us what was your most memorable moment of wrestling?
I was a sophomore in high school, and I wrestled boys, obviously. I was at league finals, and I made it to the finals. The kid that I was wrestling, I remember his name to this day, John Beard. He beat me in the beginning of the year 9-3. And he was like going around talking smack, saying, oh, all I have to do to win league is beat that girl, and because he had already beat me. So I make it to the finals. He's in the finals. We're both at rival schools. I went to Milliken High School in Long Beach, and he went to Lakewood High School. And there's always been a rivalry between those schools. And so we start the match, and the first period, I don't think there was a score in the first period. Second period, I think we went neutral. No, he chose down. He escaped, so he got a point, and then I came back and I took him down. And then his coach complained that my laces weren't taped properly. So the referee awarded him a point, so we were tied 2-2. And then we go
your laces taped?
They weren't taped properly, yeah. And so we go into the third period, and there's literally like no score the entire third period. There's probably like 10 seconds left, and I shoot in, and I take him down right on the edge of the mat, right as time is going off of the clock, and the referee gives me the 2 points, and I beat him 4-2 to win league. So I think that's my most memorable, and it was in the newspaper, and there's a picture in the newspaper where I'm like cheering, and he's in the background laying on the ground like I just took him down. So yeah, that definitely was one of my most memorable. And then,
have you ever run into him since then?
Have I what?
Have you ever run into him or seen him after that?
I saw him at CIF the following weekend, and he kind of just fell apart. I think he lost both matches and was out. But like as the years that went on, no, I think maybe we're friends on Facebook now.
Cool.
Yeah. But that's like my high school moment. And then obviously when I won my first U.S. national championship, and my parents were in my corner, and my kids were there, and so.
Where was that at?
That was in Vegas, and I wrestled Iris Smith in the finals, and she was the 2012 world champion at the time. I think it was 2013 or 2014. 2014 that I won it. So.
So you're in the lucky position where you get to keep training. What do you think is going on in other countries during this quarantine?
I'm not sure. I feel like they're probably still training. I think maybe we're probably taking it the worst, I guess. I feel like they're probably I feel like the Japanese are definitely still.
I'm sorry, you said the Japanese are probably still training?
I feel like they probably still are. Mm-hmm. But you never know.
And in wrestling at that level, in other countries, there's state support, right? Like the government is more involved than in the United States. Is that correct?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, definitely. When I went to Russia, who was it? I think the Russian president they were at the tournament. And they're definitely way more involved than the U.S. We have our governing bodies, but that's it.
Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to plug? Sponsors?
Just my family, obviously. My mom, my dad, all my brothers. Titan Mercury. Don't really have any big sponsors right now because I kind of stepped away for a little bit. But I'm sure they'll be there if I, make the team.
Well, we're very excited to watch you as you continue your journey, and welcome back to competitive wrestling. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome.
It is. And thank you guys for having me and talking with me this morning.
We want to talk to you again when you get your gold medal, though.
Okay.
Take care of that. Now we'll see.
Definitely.
Okay, I want to thank Iron Lion Soap, Roll Dog Kimono, Blue to Fight Gear. You got anything else, Felicia?
I think we're good. Everyone stay safe out there. Hang in there.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.